Hi friends, so I welcome you to the class of business to business marketing, and we are continuing with the unit product management. So in the last class we talked about a few things about product management, so its importance, and we talked about how it is useful, right. So what in the 4 P's of marketing we find that product happens to be the most important element. So, today and we also talked about the new product development process and how it starts with problem identification, then it goes into finally towards the commercialization. So, in between you have steps like concept testing, and you have for example test marketing, business analysis. So, all these steps a product has to pass through, and finally if it is gets a tick mark in all, that means a correct response is we get a correct response, then we finally go for commercialization. And we also understand that if in any case the product is not successful, it becomes very costly for any company, because the company must have spent lot of money in research and development, marketing, developing the product. So that goes all into waste. So today we will be continuing from there, and we will talk about some new methods, some methods that are generally used by companies for developing a new product, right. So this new the techniques that we are talking about is today are like, for example, quality functional deployment, which is a very popular method, and also called as the house of quality, right. So where we try to find out the voice of the customer, that means what is the customer's requirement exactly, and if you do not understand that, then maybe you may have developed a product and sometimes by chance you become successful, but most of the time it is we cannot say, and it is highly risky, because in case it fails, so the chances of losses are very high. Then you have something called Fishbone or Ishikawa diagram, perceptual mapping, reverse engineering, and value analysis. So there can be many more methods, but I am talking about some only few important methods which are generally discussed, and they play a very significant role. So let us start with the first one, quality functional deployment. Now this technique was developed in Japan in 1966 by Yoji Akao, right. And it is a method of understanding the customer's requirement and translating them into technical specifications, so that it helps in the new product development process. Now this tool also, as I have said, is called house of quality. The major important point in this quality QFD technique is the voice of customer. So the what is the voice of customer? So and how it impacts. So almost all companies today use this technique for their benefit, right, and it helps them significantly in the new product development process. Now if you look at this diagram, it is because as I have said, it is also called house of quality, right. Now why the house? Because if you can see, that looks like a terrace, there are some walls, and its shape is similar to a house. So what are the different factors? Now for example, in this side we have, to the left side, customer importance ratings, and this is something we call as voice of customer. What the customer wants. So we will try to indicate what the customer wants, and then after understanding what the customer wants, we will try to translate in terms of technology, how to satisfy the customer wants. Now in order to convert this customer wants in a tangible manner, what are the requirements, technical requirements we have. Then we will try to find out what is the relationship between the this customer demand and the technological requirement, what kind of a relationship exists between them. Then we will assess the competitors position in the market in terms of what the customer wants. For example, the customer might certain give you certain requirements. So in those requirements, how do we fare in comparison to our competitors? That is what is done here. This is the point where we talk about target values. Target value means every technology that we are talking about in this room, or that this space, right, how to satisfy technology. So that must have a optimal target value, right, desired target value, and where do we land up, or where do we stand in those technological requirements, is we evaluate it here at the bottom, right. So, all these are important to understand the customer's requirements and the associated technical requirements. So, let us go one by one. So, how to build a house of quality? So, it says first you have to identify and prioritize the customer requirements, and after that determine the technical requirements as I have already mentioned. Then relate the customer requirements to the technical, that is the what kind of relationship exists between the customer's requirement and the technology that you are trying to meeting those requirements or satisfying those customers requirements. Now compare ability to meet requirements against competitive, that is means to make a competitive assessment, that means in the same point what the customer is asking, how do we fare in comparison to our customers. Let us say the customer demands a soft product. So, when you talk about soft or a user friendly product, how do customers rate us in comparison to the competitors in terms of that user friendliness. Determine the correlation of design requirement elements. So, here in this case this is the situation we are talking about, the interrelationship among the technological or technical requirements. So, what kind of a relationship exists? Then we talk about setting the targets for technical requirements and determining the capability. So, where do we stand, which I had said in the bottom place, right. And then look for high opportunity requirements to satisfy customers. Now, this case has been so powerful. One of the case that I can think of was a case of Ford Motors. Now, Ford Motors when it released one of its brands of car, so they thought it would be very successful because obviously the technical requirements were very, standards were very high. So, customers would be highly satisfied, they had thought, but after some time they realized that the customers were not happy, right. So, what was the problem? They found that there were two problems. One, the customer were facing one, that the focus of the light, the front lights was not aligned properly. So, that means it was falling to some tree top or somewhere. So, it was not aligned properly in the cars. Second problem that they faced was opening the doors. If there was some kind of a rain or a moisture condition, rain, snow or something, then the doors used to become very tight and they were very difficult to open, especially by the women. So, this was a big problem that they were facing. Now, Ford realized that if this is not corrected, the demand for the car was coming down. So, they used these methods, house of quality, in identifying the problem, and after identifying the problem they started correcting it, right. So, they used a very simple method called concurrent design, right. So, in a concurrent design method what happens is you bring in a team of people and they work together. So, let us take an example of for designing this house of quality. This is a camera company who manufactures and targets the travel vloggers. Now, vloggers is somebody who makes video, right, like bloggers write something. So, these people make videos and they post it. The engineering, marketing and R&D department of the company are working together in designing a new camera. How can it use house of quality to perform its tasks? So, making a survey, first initially the first thing to identify the customer wants is through a survey, right. So, a survey was done and let us say they found that the customer feels that the camera should be light in weight, easy to use, but that means operationally there should not be much difficult, it should be reliable, easy to hold, so that it is not it is not shaking and the photo is not getting blurred or something, and color correction. So, these 5 points are very important and it was rated like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but if you assume there can be situations where two different customer wants may have the same score, right. So, it is not necessary all the time that it has to be like a rank, it is not necessary. So, it could have been like something like 3, 4, 4, 2, 2, it could have been possible, right. So, there is no compulsion that it has to be in a rank. Now, next, how to satisfy this customer wants. So, to understand, after understanding this customer wants, this lightweight and all these things, color correction and all. So, they found that these are the few requirements, and here they found that 6 requirements are there, like for example, low electricity requirement, aluminum components so that the weight will come down, auto focus, auto exposure, paint palette and ergonomic design. So, in order to satisfy the customer wants, the company realize that these are the 6 points which are required. Okay. So, now what is the relationship between the the light this customer want and the technical requirement. So, this is shown in the chart in a kind of a matrix, right, where if you see weak relationship or is given a score of 1, moderate relationship which is shown in a circle is 3, and strong relationship is shown in a circle of is given a score of 9, right. So, this part is like the heart, the processing part, right. Okay. Now, relationship between the things we can do. Now, these were the 6 requirements, technical requirements, right. So, what kind of a relationship exists between them? So, it could be positively related, negatively related. So, here maybe we have marked certain relationships. Now, why these relationships are important? Then you have to understand that suppose there are 2 technical requirements and one of them is very important, and let us say A and B. Okay. Now, for the production process, A is extremely vital, right, B may not be, but the point is A and B are heavily correlated, are highly strongly correlated. So, A will not function without B. So, automatically the demand or the purchase or the procurement for B also has to happen accordingly, right. Sometimes 2 elements might be negatively correlated. That means, if you want to get one, the other is let us say demand for the other one will automatically come down. So, this helps to keep a balance of the technical requirements. Now, the weighted ratings, for example, in this case we have done it. For example, this is a tentative case, right. So, lightweight and if you take these points, right, low electricity, aluminum and all. Now, if you make it, so it is given some kind of a score, right, and by multiplied. So, 3 into this is 1, 3 plus 4 into 1, 3 plus 4 7, 5 into 3 15. So, 15 plus 7 22, 3 into 1 sorry 3 into 3 9, 9 here, right, 4 into 3 12, 5 into 3 15, 12 plus 15 27, right. 4 again this is 27, this one 27 plus 1 into 9 36. Then finally, you have 4 into 3 12, 2 into 9 18, 12 plus 18 30 plus there is 1 3 into 1 33. So, now this gives us a indication that which is the most important element out here. If you see score wise 36, right. So, this is the most important. So, what is it? Let us see. So, if you look at what are the 3 points: easy to use, reliable and color corrections. In terms of the camera, people feel these 3 are the some of the most important ones. And if you look at in terms of the technical requirement, right. So, what is this? Paint palette. So, this technical requirement has to be given high consideration. Similarly, if you look at the last one and which is the lowest value, now this one. Now, this one only is used for lightweight. Now, what is it? Now, aluminum components. So, accordingly what happens, the company can allocate its resources by understanding the importance of this value, by looking at this value, the the score, right. The next is how well do competing product meet the customer wants. Now, as I said, right, so there can be company A, company B. So, good, poor, good, poor. So, this is maybe F is not good at all, right. So, fair, you can say, not good, we cannot say fair or moderate, right. So, fair, good and poor, right. So, 3 scores. So, by understanding this we can understand that where are we in comparison to the competitors, right. So, by understanding this score, right, for example, we have taken a score. So, 3 into 1. So, for one company A, right, and company A gets 22, right. So, this is how it goes. Now, coming to this slide, now we will see how well do the competing products meet the customer wants. Now, for example, let us say there are 3 companies, let us say company X, right, and then company A and B. Okay. Now, let us say company X is the company we are bothered about. So, this particular camera company, right. Now, they feel that how can you rate them? Now, let us say people can say either good, bad, right, or moderate, right. So, let us say in terms of lightweight, company X gets a moderate, Okay. Company A is good, company B is good. Then in terms of easy to use, right, company X gets a good, company A gets, let us say, moderate and again good. Reliable, what you can do is, maybe, is it reliable? Yes, it is reliable, moderately reliable, and this is good and this is moderate. Okay. Then easy to hold or steadiness, for in that aspect, if you see, this can be, let us say, no, it is bad, let us say bad or poor, right. So, poor, and this is moderate and this is moderate. Okay. So, now what is happening, and color correction, this is again, let us say, moderate, and this is, let us say, good, and this is again moderate. Now, by looking at this, what happens, the company gets an idea key in terms of, if the particular requirements that the customer has, how does it fare, right. Now, this point, let us say, is reliability is most important and they are only moderate. Okay. And here in color correction, which is not that important for the customer, again they are moderate, and which is, and one good thing is easy to use, they are good, and it is important also, and they are doing good. But if you look at the other companies in competitors, they are pretty well doing, they are doing well in reliability. Let us say A is doing pretty well, and this does not matter much. So, it is okay, but if you look at the other 2 points also, they are scoring high. Now, this company is scoring high in 2 points, let us say, and in even this one it is moderate. So, by looking at the customer's wants, the company can understand what is its position in the market and where they need to improve. Okay. And then finally, we talk about the target values. So, technical attributes. So, what is the technical attributes that is required, and how do the company A and B and let us say us, let us say these 3 companies, right, how do they fare in the market. So, what is the value? So, 0.5 A, and here we are at this score, somebody is even at 0.6, 0.7, and what was the second attribute, I do not remember, but whatever is the score, you can compare all the 3 companies against these scores, right. So, this gives a very clear idea in terms of the technical requirements, that what is the target value and where do you stand in terms of the competition or the market, right. So, that will help us to improve upon those aspects much better. Okay. So, this part is also over now. So, this is how the complete model will look like. So, this is the complete model, and once a person can have a look at the complete model, he or she can easily understand where, which is the most important item, or which is the most important, let us say, voice of customer, and accordingly where should they allocate their resources to improve, maximize their improvement, right. So, house of quality is a very powerful method, and this method is used by most of the companies in bringing improvement into their products. The next method that is used is the Ishikawa or the fishbone diagram. Now, this diagram was developed by Kaoru Ishikawa in the 60s as a way of actually measuring quality control processes, right, in the shipbuilding industry. But later on, it found lot of use in various fields. So, it shows the cause and causes of an event and is often used in manufacturing product development. Now, so what it does is basically it looks like a fishbone. So, that is why these names, house was like house of quality was like a house, fishbone, that is why it is like a, it is named fishbone, right. So, it helps to create product designs and solve technical problems, outline the different steps in a process, demonstrate where the issues might arise, and decide which resources are required at the different time periods. Okay. Now, let us look at the steps. So, first it is important while doing a fishbone diagram that you need to identify the problem statement, right. So, what is the, like, you have several causes and what is the effect, like for example, in a regression equation you have a dependent variable and there are several independent variables, and all the independent variables will influence the results or the dependent variable. Okay. Here also we have one effect. So, the effect could be increase in market share, increase in profit, or higher sales, whatever it is. So, write the problem center at the center right of the flip chart or whiteboard, wherever you are drawing, right. So, this is the effect. Okay. So, the problem. So, we identify the problem and we say this is the effect and we need improvement. So, as I said, it could be market share, it could be sales, right. sales, it could be increasing more designs, new products. So, whatever. Then brainstorm the primary categories of causes. So, what are the primary causes, right? For example, here we are saying materials, environment, management, people, process and equipment. So, these are the 6 major causes which affect the sales or design or whatever is our issue in hand. Now, after this, the brainstorming happens and questions are asked like why does this happen, right? As each idea is given, the facilitator writes it. He starts, the moderator starts writing it as a branch from the appropriate category. Now, causes can be written in several places. For example, let us say here, so something is related to let us say equipment or something is related to let us say the process. So, let us say this is the process. Now, there can be several sub branches. So, for example, you can have more sub branches. If it is related to process, then it will be something that is affecting the the process. For example, if this is the main line, right. Now, what things can affect the process? Let us say the way we are using the technology, we are using the kind of the knowledge people are having. So, we can have which technology we are using and how much of automation is there, whatever we are doing. So, there can be several sub points. So, as for example, let us take a simple one like materials. Now, let us say to increase, now we want some kind of a raw material, some let us say resources or let us say basic raw materials. Okay. Now, we say that raw material will influence this problem, but then we are saying when you talk about raw material, collecting raw material, there are some primary causes and secondary causes. Now, primary causes are causes which directly affect the raw material. Now, for example, let us say let us say the amount of raw material available, right. And then we say the secondary cause that impacts is maybe the logistics that is available to bring this raw material to your place. So, we try to divide and subdivide so many times as much as required that we try to identify each and every small point that can affect the cause and then finally affect the problem statement. Okay. So, Ishikawa diagram is one such diagram which is, if you look, this isn't it, does not look like a fish structure. So, this is the head of the fish and this is the main bone and these are the other bones which are connected, right. So, that is why we are trying to, we group it into different heads and we try to then cater to each of these problems individually. So, that helps in the product development process, okay, and also brings in significant improvement in the products by correcting them. Then we have something called perceptual mapping. Now, this technique is used to study the strength and weakness of a firm's product in comparison to that of its competitors. Now, perceptual mapping helps in generating new product ideas. So, it also helps in repositioning your ideas. Now, what is that? Let us see with an example. Okay. So, perceptual mapping, as you can see here, right. So, this is example taken from the net only. So, here what is happening, let us say we divide into two axes. Now, these are all the different companies, car companies, automobile, and on terms of performance in the x axis and price in the y axis, we try to place the different cars as per the customers psychology or customers what do customers feel about it. Now, we take a survey and maybe we try to ask people in terms of performance and price, where would they place, let us say Mercedes Benz. Now, Mercedes Benz is placed here, right, Ferrari is placed here. So, if you go, it is more positive, right, this side is more positive, this side is more negative, this side is again more positive, this side is negative, right. So, the most positive in terms of performance is Bugatti, but the price is also high, correct. Okay. If you look at it from price and performance point of view, let us say the Honda, where is the Honda stand or the Mazda stands? Now, let us say here. Okay. Similarly, what is about Toyota? Now, Toyota has in comparison, so maybe something like we draw like this. So, price may not be high, some of the brands we are talking about. So, a perceptual map helps us to know that in the marketplace, how do customers feel about the particular brands of cars or any product that you are thinking about, right. Now, how do we do it? Identify the relevant set of competing products, right. So, what are the products you are thinking about where you want to make a comparison? You have to first understand that. Define the attributes that customers use to differentiate among the alternatives. Now, for example, here we took price and performance. Somebody can say, no, I will take service, right, and price. Okay. So, what kind of service they give and what kind of price they charge for it. So, one can do any kind of situations, right. Then collect the information from a sample of existing and potential customers concerning how they perceive the various options. Now, after understanding these 2 points that we are interested in, we will try to see how customers perceive these brands or products. Then examine the product's current position versus competitors' offerings, and then you can take action. Now, suppose in this case we have come to know that some company is not doing so well or some brand of is not doing so well in terms of performance and price. So, then we would be more worried and we would try to take corrective action, but if you do not do any such kind of exercise, you will not be able to understand what is the requirement of the customer. Okay. So, as the name suggests, perceptual mapping helps in understanding the perception of the people for a range of products. Okay. The next is reverse engineering. Now, reverse engineering is the process of analyzing an existing product's constituent components, right. Now, what happens here? Let us say a company has come up with a new product. So, the competitor may look at the product, may buy a product, right, and try to completely remove the parts, right, and look at it individually, what is the construction, how it has been constructed, what are the parts involved, everything. So, it is often used in research by designers wanting to make add-on or complementary products for an existing product, machine or device, right, as well as to create replica. So, if you can see the product, let us say you have brought a new let us say water cooler. Now, a company wants to manufacture water cooler. So, what it will do? It will get the water cooler, completely divide the parts, remove the parts, separate the parts, and then try to see how it has been built, which parts have been used and what is the process. So, once it understands the process, if it feels it can improve upon it, then it can obviously create a better product. So, right. Products and systems such as mechanical devices, electrical components, software, chemical formulas can all potentially be reverse engineered, right. So, making this process a very useful technique. Okay. Now, look at this. This is a cycle, right. Now, this cycle has got several parts. So, the company can take this cycle, remove the parts, right, and try to see how it has been made. So, what are the different processes involved in making this cycle and what are the different parts involved in making this cycle? What is special about this cycle? So, once they feel well, we can make some improvements in the in the let us say in the cycle chain, right, or in the wheel. So, they can make those additional changes and maybe create a better product than the existing product. Okay. The last is value analysis. Now, it is a set of techniques, knowledge and skill used to improve the value of a product by eliminating unnecessary cost or improving its function. Now, what it says, there can be certain products which have n number of steps. Let us say to make a let us say to make this pointer, let us say you have 10 steps or 5 different steps. So, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Now, a company realizes that 2 and 3 can be easily clubbed into 1, right. So, by understanding this, that they can reduce it to maybe 1, 2, 3 and 4 steps now, right. So, 2 and 3 becomes 1. So, 4 exists and 5 exists, right. So, now 4 steps. So, by reducing this one step and maybe they feel that some of the components are unnecessary, they are not even required, we can get away with some more lighter instruments or some other instruments. So, what they do is they improve the value of a product by eliminating unnecessary cost or improving its function, right, without the compromising the quality, right, reliability and performance. It involves understanding the components of the product and the related cost structure. For example, a car company can easily use value analysis, or any company can use value analysis to reduce the cost of the car and make it more affordable for the customers. How does it help? It helps in reducing cost, maintain better quality, provide an opportunity to use new technologies, eliminate waste and encourage new ideas, improve the brand image maybe by using better products, right, better subcomponents. You can improve the brand image, improve design, right. So, value analysis, let us take a example. Now, what are the steps? First, let us understand. Gain information about the product, process and services involved in building a product. Now, as I said, if this is the product, so what are the different product subcomponents required to make this product, right? And I could have opened and shown you there is, this thing. So, and what process is involved and what are the services required while constructing this product or designing this product, okay. Identify the problem areas, okay. Then search for alternative ways that allow reduction, change or modification in the existing component. As I said, maybe if there are 10 steps, 5 steps, some of the steps can be clubbed into one unnecessary. For example, modular designs, we talk about modular designs. Now, modular designs help us in creating such good, affordable and easy to handle designs that today selling has increased of many products just because of the change in the design, right. And feasibility and cost evaluation, we do it in this step, and finally after doing the feasibility test and cost evaluation test, then we go for implementation, monitoring and corrective actions. So, this entire step is very important because it is very realistic, very practical to understand where the problem lies and what improvements can be brought in, right. Let us say this is a case of a lead pencil production, right. So, somebody, a manufacturer of pencil finds that wood and paint were the two most expensive elements in producing the pencil, which shared 37.5% of the total cost. Okay. A round shaped design for the pencil was suggested instead of a hexagonal shaped. So, this is hexagonal shaped and multicolored, right. So, the colors were made to few and they were made round shapes. Okay. So, by using normal paints and a certain particular structure, so no hexagon. So, if you make a hexagonal structure, obviously the finishing is more. So, the cost was improving. So, by suggesting those design changes and the paint and the color, the production cost was reduced by 25%, which is almost, simply one can say, this is the profit to the company if the sales is remains, assuming the sales is constant. So, this is a simple profit to the company, right. So, these are some methods which we used and we try to understand that how companies can evaluate their products and they can develop new products, bring in changes in their existing products and they can obviously increase their market share, their sales in the market, right. So, with this I will wind up today with this lecture and we will meet in the next lecture. Till then, take care. Thank you very much.